Hola a todos y a todas, soy Andrew y os ayudaré a realizar una entrevista en inglés. My name is Andrew Piotrowski. I'm an English teacher from Canada and I want to give you some advice about what to expect in an interview. First, I want to tell you a little bit about myself and my background. I've had a lot of different jobs over the years. I have worked in different professions, including security, hospitality, education, healthcare, and retail. This means that I have had a lot of interviews which involved a lot of different questions. What I want to share with you is that there is a pattern and a formula towards taking the best interview you can possibly take. The main topics that I will be talking about are what to expect during the interview, such as questions they may ask you and how to answer them using common vocabulary. The second topic is how to improve your interviewing skills, such as the best ways to practice interviewing and your body language that you should have during the interview. And the third topic that I will briefly speak on are tips on how to get better at speaking in English to help you with your interviewing skills. What to expect during the interview. So, before talking about the specific questions you may be asked and how to answer them, I want to mention that some of the harder questions will likely focus on scenarios specific to the job that you are applying for, where you will need to use problem solving and critical thinking. For example, I have been working myself as a massage therapist for 4 years and have had many interviews in this profession. One of the most common questions was to describe how I would treat someone with a specific injury. For example, what would you do with someone who just had a car accident and has neck pain? My answer then relies on the training I have had relating to this type of injury. Another example is I have been asked questions about the legal ethics relating to my profession. They have asked, if you are asked to have a romantic relationship with a client, what would your answer be? I would then say my answer would be that I legally have to stop treatment with that client and wait 1 year until engaging in a romantic relationship. So you can see that the questions and answers for these situations completely depend on the profession you are in. So I highly recommend you do research into the specific company and job that you are applying for. Okay. So now we are going to talk about the most common questions in an interview. And this is where I can provide more help specific to what you need, okay? So question number 1 that they may ask is describe your personality or tell me about yourself, okay? This is a common question, especially with jobs that involve a lot of teamwork and communication between co-workers, people that you work with. They may ask this to see if you are a good fit for the existing team that they have, or that you will potentially work well with the other people that they have already hired. The following terms that we use for this to describe ourselves during an interview. You can use I am easygoing, which means you are a relaxed person who is easy to get along with. You can say, I am hardworking, which means you are someone who works well and isn't lazy. You can say, I am committed. I am committed, which means you are a person who is loyal to a project or a person. You can say you are trustworthy, which means that you are someone who they can rely on or trust. Another closely related term is I am honest, which is basically someone who tells the truth. Another term that we use is focused, so someone who is not easily distracted. Methodical is another word we say, methodical. And this would be a person who pays attention to details and works in a logical way. And the last term, one of my personal favorites, is proactive. And this would be someone who takes steps to complete tasks without supervision. Why my favorite term is proactive, and I've used this many times before in interviews, is because employers love to have proactive employees because as a boss, they already have a lot of work, and the less they have to worry about you while you complete the tasks they have given you, the better. So the less they have to worry about you, the better, as long as you do the work correctly, of course. So question 2. The next question is, what are your strengths and weaknesses? This is one of the most common questions I have heard in interviews. They will ask this question because they simply want to know what you are good or what you are bad at. And if those skills match the job that they are interviewing you for, then you are a good fit for the job. So they want to know more about you and what you think you are good and bad at. For example, if you are a receptionist at a hotel, a good skill to have would be the ability to multitask. So imagine you are helping one client book a room on the computer, on a program that you have. And the phone rings with another client asking questions about the hotel. Are you the type of person who has to put them on hold or stop talking to them while you finish with the first client? Or can you do both tasks at the same time, otherwise known as multitask? Other vocabulary that may help you describe your strengths are as follows. My strengths are organization, perform to a deadline. Perform to a deadline. This means to finish assignments or tasks on time and not late. Another thing is good at problem solving. You communicate well. You work in an international environment and with people from all over the world. And something closely related to this is speaking in foreign languages. Of course, those are both good strengths to have. And the last one I have is enthusiasm. Okay? Now let's talk about your weaknesses. In my opinion, one of the worst ways to describe your weaknesses is to use one of your strengths. For example, if one of your strengths is that you are a hard worker, you then say one of your weaknesses is that sometimes you work too hard. There are no employers that want to hear this, in my opinion, because it means you did not put enough effort into thinking about it. And this doesn't really tell them much about you more than they already know from what you told them in your strengths. You're basically just repeating the strengths as your weaknesses. Instead, before the interview, I suggest you think and brainstorm and be honest with yourself and think of 3 true weaknesses, and after write them down with specific goals you have to improve them. This shows that you are self-aware of your own mistakes and that you are actively trying to grow and improve them. This is, in my opinion, a strength in itself. Being self-aware of and understanding that you're not perfect, but you want to improve. Employers love this. I've become close with a lot of my managers who have hired me and later become friends with them once I stopped working at their place or even during. And they have told me many reasons why they have hired people. And this is one of the biggest things. People who want to improve and want to grow. They know that no one is perfect, but they love to see that you will always take action to improve yourself. Okay, so next question, number 3. They may ask you, or they will very likely ask you, what experience do you have in this field? Field meaning this profession. That is another term that we use, in this field. If none, what experience do you have in general? So unfortunately, I cannot tell you exactly how to answer this question because some of it depends on your own experience. But what I can help you with is the vocabulary and commonly used phrases involved, or that you could use in this situation. So when we talk about a specific position or job, we use the phrase, I have 3 years of experience as a teacher. The prepositional phrase we use for this is as a. So I have experience as a teacher, as a waiter. I have experience as a waitress. When we talk about a specific industry you have worked in, we use the phrase, I have worked in retail for 7 years. The preposition we use for this is in. I have worked in retail. I have worked in healthcare or in tourism. Next, if you want to describe that you worked in one position, but after you were promoted, you can say, for example, I worked in sales for a year and was promoted to manager in my 2nd year. Promoted to manager in my 2nd year. We use the preposition to. I was promoted to manager. I was promoted from junior sales to senior sales, okay? Next, when we want to talk about the type of education you have and what school you went to, we usually say, I studied law at the University of Queensland, or I studied psychology at the University of Valladolid. We use at for this, the preposition at. Another way to say this is I went to the University of Toronto for physiotherapy. For this, we say went to the University of Physiotherapy. Another situation when you use the preposition for is to describe a company where you worked or are working currently. I worked for Anderson and Associated as a lawyer for 5 years. Or I worked, or I currently work for Fairlawn Physiotherapy as a massage therapist for 3 years. Okay, I work for a company. Next question, and the last one, and probably the most important one that they will ask, is what are your goals for the future and why do you want this job? So they want to know why you want to work for them and where do you see yourself in the near future, okay? This is another question where your answers depend on your individual goals, but here are some ideas that may help you. If you are going from studying as a student into a profession, you could say, I am interested in working for your company because I'm looking to further my skills in hospitality. Or I'm looking to further my skills as a child care worker. The phrase, I'm looking to further my skills, basically means I want to improve. If you are already in a profession but want to work for another company or similar, you can say, I want to further my career in physiotherapy. Or I want to further my career as an administrator. Okay? My favorite answer that will get their attention, in my opinion, and I used to use this a lot, is I believe your company is an important player in its industry, and I feel my skill set is a perfect fit for your team. So saying that they are an important player basically means you think they are a good company within the industry that they work in, and that you would actually enjoy working for them. I have found that a lot of employers look for people who are passionate about their work, because if you enjoy doing it and care, it usually means you will do it well. And they love this. If you use this answer, be ready for them to ask why, or to be more specific with how you can benefit the company or why you like it. Because they want to see that you have done your research about their company. They want to see that you know about the job that you are applying for, and that you actually have knowledge of what it is you want from the job. So a general example of what you could say is, very general, I can contribute by bringing an enthusiastic and hardworking attitude to your team. Now, I suggest answering this question with more knowledge behind it and research a more specific answer towards the job that it is, but that was a general example. So you can say, I can contribute by, no. Okay? The skill set of taking interviews. The next thing I want to talk about is the skills that you can have in taking interviews, okay? So first thing I want to talk about on this topic is practice makes perfect. That is something we say in English. Practice makes perfect, okay? Practice, practice, practice. Ask a friend or a family member to research a company with you that you are interested in. Develop questions with them and act out the situation of an interview. Being practical with your approach is very, very important. It is best to have, in my opinion, 2 to 3 companies so you can develop routine answers that you can use for multiple interviews, and other answers that are more specific to each of the company's goals. So you can start to develop almost a script or a formula of questions you can use for multiple interviews, and some that you want to use specifically for certain jobs you are interviewing for. It is very important to be as practical as possible. There's a big just like learning and speaking a language, there's a big difference between learning and having knowledge about it and putting that knowledge to use and practicing with it. The more you practice it, the better you get, and the more success you will have. Other than practicing with someone at home or with videos online, the only way to truly practice this situation, in my opinion, is to experience it for yourself. Take multiple interviews and don't be afraid of them. The more you take, the better you get at them, and the more chances you have of getting a job. Don't spend 100% of your time preparing for an interview. Instead, balance your time and focus on actually looking for interviews and taking them in order to get better. Even take interviews for jobs that you may not be as interested in, or you don't even think you will get, because they will still help you understand the process and know what to expect. This helps you be more mentally prepared and comfortable for the job interviews that you are more interested in and want more. And this will prepare you and have you doing the interviews like a professional by the time you get an interview of a job that you really want. Another tip or a piece of advice is, don't be down on yourself or depressed after being rejected. Stay positive and stay focused. Chances are that you won't get a job after your first couple interviews. So schedule more at a time, more than one at a time if possible, during a week or 2 weeks. If the first couple didn't go very well, don't get discouraged and focus on the next one. Having multiple interviews also gives you an advantage when you get job offers, because you are able to compare how much one company may pay you with another, how much another may pay you. This also means that if the company you want to work for is offering you less money than another company, then you have bargaining power, which means you can then mention this to that company who is offering you less to potentially convince them to offer you more or match or offer you the same amount of money as the other company. Because if they want you to work for them, they're going to be competitive. And if one of their competitors or another company wants you, they're going to want to offer you the same or maybe more than what the other offers. So it's good to have different options and different offers on the table. So next, I want to talk about body language. The first area of body language I want to talk about is good posture. So this is something I know a lot about because I have worked in a physiotherapy clinic for years and I have studied what proper posture is in school and have had experience with it in the real world. The appearance of good posture can help you project yourself as confident and, as silly as it sounds, more attractive, which is actually something employers look for sometimes, whether they are aware of it or not. If the first thing a client sees when they walk inside your store or the hotel is someone greeting them with a confident and attractive body language, this can potentially keep them there and keep them interested in the product or the service, as well as attract more customers potentially. I know that it sounds superficial, but it's also science. That's how it works sometimes. So my advice is to pay attention. My advice for posture, good posture, when you are sitting, is to pay attention to this area on your chest, okay? If it is pointing more towards the wall, right here. If this is pointing more towards the wall, then you're looking like this, and from the front view, this is what you look like. You don't look as motivated, you don't look as confident. But if you slowly tilt your chest up where this is pointing to the ceiling more, and your head and your ears are over your shoulders, you're appearing more confident and more motivated, and they will be more attracted to what you may offer to their company. So body language and posture is extremely important. The next thing about with regards to body language is eye contact. Looking into the eyes of the interviewer is important, as it shows your attention is completely on them and you are actively listening. This doesn't mean you have to look into their eyes 100% of the time, but try to do it as much as possible and be aware of how much you are doing it or how little you are doing it. This also helps you project yourself as a more honest and respectful person. And the final thing with regards to body language is having good manners and being polite. Good posture and eye contact are both examples of good manners in my opinion, but to be more specific, simply saying please, thank you, and your tone of voice is also very important. To some people, these may be obvious, these things may be obvious, but to others, know that something this simple can be extremely important. If they start the interview by saying hello and asking how your day was, Give them a thoughtful answer, followed by saying thank you, and make sure you ask them in return as well. If there is a question you didn't understand, don't be afraid to ask them to repeat it, but make sure to say please. For example, I didn't quite hear or understand the question that you asked. Do you mind repeating the question, please? Kindness and respect go a long way, and when speaking to someone who may potentially want you to work for them, it is very important and they really appreciate it. Okay, the final thing I'm going to talk about quickly is how to get, in my opinion, how to get better at speaking a language. So there is a big difference between having a level in a language, or I'll use English as an example, having a level in English and knowing how to speak at that level. A lot of people can have a high level but not be able to speak and use the language practically at the level they have, or the certification that they have. Employers care a lot more about your ability to speak the language than having a certificate that says you know the language. I'm sure that they would give the job to someone who can actually speak the language and who doesn't have a C2, C1 certification, and hire that person instead of giving the job to someone who has a C2 certification and can't speak the language well or use it practically for the job. As you become proficient in a language, there is always something more that you have to learn, and there's always something else that you haven't learned, especially when it comes to different types of professions. There's always new vocabulary and jobs that you will have to learn new words and certain sayings. So make sure you study the vocabulary specific to the career you want to be in, even if you think you don't need to. If you think you know all of it, at least look and review. When learning how to speak a language, you have to push yourself to speak with people and go outside of your comfort zone. Always remember that you will not learn without making mistakes. Don't be too hard on yourself. Failure is important. Without failure, there wouldn't be success, and we wouldn't learn how to do things correctly. You have to be comfortable with this, as you will not improve without understanding and correcting what you did wrong. Okay? Thank you very much. I hope what I have shared with you today will help you in your process, and good luck, everyone. Thank you.